The dorm room door swung open, and my heart stopped. I stood frozen. The soft lace of the lingerie I'd been trying on brushing against my skin. A secret I'd kept buried for years now exposed under the harsh fluorescent light. My 3 roommates, Jake, Ethan, and Riley, stood in the doorway. Their faces a mix of shock, curiosity, and something I couldn't quite read. I'd always been the quiet one at Westview University, the guy who blended into the background of our cramped, chaotic dorm in Portland, Oregon. My name's Alex, a sophomore majoring in literature, more comfortable with books than people. But beneath the oversized hoodies and shy smiles, I'd been hiding a truth. I loved the feel of delicate fabrics, the way they made me feel alive, free. Me. That night, alone in our shared room, I'd given in to the urge to try on the lavender lace set I'd ordered in secret. I thought I had hours before they'd be back from the campus party. I was wrong. Alex. What the Jake started, his athletic frame blocking the doorway. His voice cut off as Ethan, the artist with a mop of dark curls, elbowed him aside, eyes wide but not unkind. Riley, the quiet engineering major, lingered behind, his gaze flickering between confusion and something softer. "Two can explain," I stammered, my face burning as I grabbed a hoodie to cover myself. But the words caught in my throat. "How do you explain a secret you've never said aloud?" I braced for laughter, judgment, or worse. Instead, Ethan stepped forward, his voice gentle but firm. "Dude, you look incredible," he said, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Like that color. It's totally your vibe." I blinked, my panic stuttering. "What?" Jake, still processing, rubbed the back of his neck but nodded. "Yeah, man, you're kinda owning it. Didn't expect it, but it works." Riley, always the last to speak, pushed his glasses up and said quietly, "It's brave. You're brave, Alex." Their words hit like a tidal wave, washing away the shame I'd been drowning in. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I just stood there, clutching the hoodie, my heart pounding with something new hope. That night, everything changed. What started as my worst nightmare became the beginning of something I never dared dream: acceptance, connection, and maybe even love. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Jake's off-key humming. The dorm was a mess: empty pizza boxes, Ethan's paint-splattered sketchbooks, Riley's circuit boards scattered across the table. But the air felt different, lighter. I pulled on my usual jeans and hoodie, the lingerie tucked safely back in its hidden box under my bed. But I couldn't shake the memory of their words. Brave. Incredible. Owning it. I expected awkwardness, maybe avoidance. But my roommates acted like nothing had happened except for the occasional glance, curious and warm. Ethan caught me in the kitchenette, pouring cereal, and leaned against the counter. "So," he said, his hazel eyes glinting, "you gonna tell us the story behind that lace, or what?" I nearly choked on my Cheerios. "It's not a big deal," I lied, my voice barely above a whisper. But Ethan wasn't buying it. He had this way of seeing through people, like he could sketch your soul with a single look. "Come on, Alex. You don't have to hide. Not with us." His voice was soft, but it carried a weight that made my chest ache. I wanted to tell them everything. How I'd spent years feeling wrong in my own skin. How the lingerie wasn't just fabric, but a rebellion against the voice in my head that said I wasn't enough. But fear still clung to me, a shadow I couldn't outrun. That afternoon, Jake dragged us all to the campus quad for a pickup soccer game. I usually sat out, but he tossed me a spare jersey with a grin. "You're playing. Lace boy." The nickname stung for a second, but his tone was playful, not cruel. On the field, I fumbled the ball, my mind still spinning from the night before. Jake passed to me, shouting, "You got this, Alex." And for the first time, I believed him. Riley, who'd been tinkering with some gadget on the sidelines, watched me with that quiet intensity of his. After the game, as we sat on the grass, sweaty and laughing, he handed me a bottle of water and said, "You should wear what makes you happy. No one gets to tell you who you are." His words were simple, but they cut deep, like he'd seen the war I was fighting inside. Over the next week, the dorm became a strange kind of sanctuary. Ethan started leaving sketches on my desk, nothing explicit, just abstract swirls of lavender and soft blues, like he was trying to capture how I felt. Jake stopped teasing me about being quiet and started asking about my favorite books, actually listening when I rambled about poetry. Riley, in his own way, showed he cared by fixing my laptop when it crashed, muttering, "Can't have you losing your writing, poet." But it was Ethan I couldn't stop thinking about. The way his hand brushed mine when we passed dishes at dinner. The way his laugh made my stomach flip. I'd never let myself feel this way before, not about a guy. Not about anyone. Growing up in a small town, I'd learned to bury those feelings, to keep them locked away with the lace I hid in my drawer. But here, in this dorm, with these three guys who saw me and didn't flinch, I started to wonder if I could be more than my secrets. One night, after a late study session, Ethan and I ended up alone in the dorm. Jake was at a frat party, Riley at the engineering lab. The room was quiet except for the hum of the mini fridge and the soft strumming of Ethan's playlist. He was sketching at his desk, and I was pretending to read, my eyes stealing glances at him. The tension between us had been building for days, electric and unspoken. "You ever gonna tell me about it?" Ethan asked, not looking up from his sketchpad. His voice was casual, but his eyes flicked to mine, searching. I swallowed hard. "About what?" He set his pencil down and turned to face me, his expression open, unguarded. "About you. The real you. Not the guy who hides behind hoodies and books." My heart raced. I wanted to deflect, to laugh it off, but something in his gaze stopped me. I took a deep breath and started talking. I told him about the first time I saw a lace in a store window, how it called to me in a way I couldn't explain, how I'd spent years feeling like I was living someone else's life, afraid to be myself, how the night they caught me was the first time I'd felt seen, not judged, not mocked, but seen. Ethan listened, his eyes never leaving mine. When I finished, the silence was heavy but not uncomfortable. He stood, crossed the room, and sat on the edge of my bed, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him. "Alex," he said softly, "you don't have to hide anymore. Not from me." My breath hitched. I wanted to say something, anything, but all I could do was look at him. His hand reached out, tentative, and rested on mine. The touch sent a spark through me, and for the first time, I didn't pull away. Instead, I leaned in, and so did he. Our lips met, soft and hesitant at first, then deeper, like we'd both been waiting for this moment. The kiss was a confession, a promise, a release of everything I'd been holding back. When we pulled apart, Ethan smiled, his thumb brushing my cheek. "You're beautiful," he whispered, and I believed him. The weeks that followed were a blur of stolen moments and quiet revelations. Ethan and I grew closer, our connection deepening with every late-night talk, every brush of hands, every kiss that felt like coming home. Jake and Riley noticed but didn't pry. Instead, they became our biggest supporters, cracking jokes to ease the tension, making space for us to figure out what we were. But not everyone was as accepting. Word got out someone saw me at a thrift store, browsing the women's section, and campus gossip spread like wildfire. Whispers followed me in the cafeteria, and I overheard slurs scrawled in bathroom stalls. One night, a group of guys from Jake's soccer team cornered me outside the library, their words sharp and cruel. "Freak," one spat, shoving me against the wall. Fear surged, but before I could react, Jake appeared, his voice low and dangerous. "Back off," he growled, stepping between us. "You touch him again, you deal with me." The guys scattered, but the damage was done. I felt exposed, raw, like the world had seen my secret and deemed it wrong. Back at the dorm, I broke down. Ethan held me, his arm steady, while Riley made tea and Jake paced. Furious. "They're idiots," Jake said. "They don't get it, and they don't matter." Riley nodded, adding, "You're stronger than them, Alex. You always have been." Their support kept me afloat. But the real turning point came at the Campus Pride event. Ethan convinced me to go, promising we'd stick together. I was terrified, but I wore the lavender lace under my clothes, a quiet act of defiance. The event was a riot of color and music, people of all kinds celebrating who they were. For the first time, I felt like I belonged. On stage, a student shared their story of coming out, and something in me shifted. I grabbed Ethan's hand, my voice trembling but sure. "I want to speak," I said. He squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with pride. I took the mic, my heart pounding. "My name's Alex," I started, "and I've spent my life hiding. But I'm done with that. I'm queer. I love wearing lace. And I'm proud of who I am." The crowd cheered, and I saw Ethan, Jake, and Riley in the front row, grinning like I'd just won the world. That spring, Ethan and I walked hand in hand across campus, no longer hiding. The lace I once wore in secret became a part of me, a symbol of the courage I'd found in that dorm room. Jake and Riley remained our family, their acceptance a reminder that love could be found in the most unexpected places. The world wasn't perfect, there were still stares, still whispers, but I was no longer afraid. I'd been caught, exposed, and instead of breaking me, it set me free.